Hey everybody, welcome to TotaLee Awesome with 8-time Mr. Olympia Lee Haney, brought to you by International Association of Fitness Sciences, the cutting edge in lifestyle training, starring the man himself, Lee Haney. How are you,
All
sir?
right, how you doing, Ron?
I'm doing great, sir. How about you?
I'm doing great, man. Hello to all the MD fans out there.
Now, we'll be talking about the Arnold Classic in a moment before your questions, but what is going on with IAFS? We were talking on the phone a little bit ago. You have an open certification, something going on very soon, next weekend?
Yes, on March the 10th, for the first time, we're opening our workshop up for anyone wanting information on training, understanding training system, carb loading, carb depleting.
Yeah.
You know, those who may, in the back of their mind, are already made up their minds that they want to become certified personal trainers.
Okay.
So we have a certification program that's like none other, because the science of bodybuilding and the science of functional training, well, we've been there, done that.
Yeah.
So nobody can boast of having the kind of knowledge and information that we're going to be giving.
Right.
So that's going on March the 10th. And again, we've opened the workshop up for the very first time. So it's open to anybody. All they have to do is go to IAFS, the whole word, certification.com, and they can register. Now, they got to hurry up and do it because we have only a limited amount of space.
Okay.
So those who are interested, it's going to be taking place at the House of Pain, located in Atlanta, Georgia. So my friends Rachel and Steve Payne, who sort of extradites my shows for me, the Lee Haney Games,
yeah,
we're going to host it at their facility.
Okay. House of Pain.
House of Pain, that's P-A-Y-N-E, not pain like killing folks.
Okay.
They don't actually kill people there, you know.
Is it P-A-Y-N-E? Is that what you said?
Yeah. P-A-Y-N-E, the House of Pain.
Like the movie Major Pain, starring Damon Wayans, was about 20 years ago or more. Okay. So, you know, we have the Arnold Classic coming up in a few days. First big show of the season. And of course, people want to know what 8-time Mr. Olympia Lee Haney has to think about it. So let's go through real quick the lineup and, you know, what do you think might happen here in Columbus, Ohio. So in the open, we have, I'm just going to read the lists, and then you tell me what you think, you know, your favorite guys might be as far as first call out, potential winners. So we have Lionel Banky, William Bonac, Max Charles, Jonathan De La Rosa, Dexter Jackson, Steve Kuklo, Cedric McMillan, Lucas Oslotl, Paul Polukzik, Justin Rodriguez, Fred Smalls, Rolly Winkler, Dennis Wolf, and Hidetaka Yamagishi. So, good group of guys.
It sure is. I tell you what, I think I know this year is going to be a lot more exciting than last year. I thought Cedric was standing there all alone. I mean, really. Yeah. He just sort of dominated everybody there, but there was no competition as far as, you know, like what I see coming this year.
Yeah. You
got Dexter Jackson, and Dexter, he's not nicknamed the Blade for nothing. Dexter is always ready.
Yeah.
Always ready. So I can really see Dexter being major competition there, no doubt about it. I mean, if Cedric's going to beat Dexter, he better be on his toes.
Yeah.
Because Dexter leaves nothing to chance. And then I'm happy to hear about the comeback of Dennis Wolf.
Yeah. It's been
I've always
2 years.
admired.
2.5 years since we've seen this guy.
Yeah, man, I've really been thought about him quite a bit, and real happy to see that he's back in shape again, that he overcame the injury that he had.
Yeah. And
he'll be mesmerizing the audience with a fantastic posing routine.
Yep.
That I always love, you know, watching Dennis. And then my man, William Bonac.
Yeah.
Woo! Man, this cat is really something.
Yes, he is.
He's going to be one to watch. I really think, you know, with his size, definition, his whole package is very unique.
Yeah.
He's there. So it's going to be really something to see. And of course, Steve Kuklo, he's going to be in great shape. And I mean, Winkler is always a mass monster, always an audience pleaser. So there's going to be a lot of great stuff going on there. You know, a lot of great stuff going on. So it's going to be exciting. Yeah. But to say who's going to win, it all depends on who show up. If Dexter show up on time like he always does, and guess what? He can win.
Yeah.
If I think Cedric was in great shape last year, but he didn't have a whole lot to, to compare. There was I think a lot of the guys chose to go to some of the other Arnold events,
right,
and some of the other regions. So, but this time I see more of them is coming back.
Yeah.
This year, so it's going to be great.
Yeah, I mean, this year the show, Sean Roden was in the show up until I think less than 2 weeks ago. He had to withdraw with some ulcers.
I didn't hear that. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
Sean, golly, he's always on time, always looking great. So what happened? Injury or something, or what?
Bleeding ulcers, but apparently he's okay now. He got it treated, but it knocked him out of the. It kind of screwed up his prep, so he's not going to be in this show. But this is really all we're missing from the Olympia lineup. Really, is Sean, Phil Heath, and Big Ramy. Everyone else, all the best guys are really here this time. So, wow. What an Arnold!
Yeah, it's going to be a good one.
And Dexter has the record with 5 Arnold Classic wins. He might make it 6.
Well, listen, you had said that you win it without Dexter.
Yeah.
Now Dexter's back this time, so it's going to be very interesting to see.
Well, Bonac, interesting. He took 3rd at the Olympia behind only Phil Heath and Ramy. So if you look at the rankings, he beat Dexter at the Olympia. He's beaten all these guys. So he's another favorite. I personally, I think it might come down to Dexter and Bonac, but really tough battle between those two.
I know it. And both of these guys are always crisp hard.
Yeah.
And Bonac, he sort of reminds me of a Kai Green.
Yeah, he does.
They remind me a lot of each other. So got a lot of muscle for his height. So man, he could take this thing.
Yeah.
So if Dexter, if Sean is not tight, because he has the tendency to be just a little bit, beautiful, the most beautiful physique I think that's out there. But at the same time, if he's spot on, he's invincible. But if he's not, then you got some of these other cats like Bonac is a piece of iron. So is Cedric. So it's going to be tough. It'll be tough going. But I'm sure he's probably done his homework. Once you win this thing, you want to get it a second time.
Yeah. Well, I've been following them all on their social media. They've all been posting pictures. Everybody looks phenomenal right now. But as you know, even in a few days' time, things can change for the better or the worse with physique.
That's right. And everybody look great by themselves.
Well, you got that one mirror in your gym at the right time of day, and the light's hitting this right there. Yeah. So.
You're the man by yourself.
Exactly. 212 division. It's kind of a small show this year for the 212 guys. There's only 7 competitors, but we're looking at former winner Jose Raymond, who's won the Arnold Classic before. And David Henry is probably going to be as strong as competition. He almost won it last year. Were you at the show last year, Lee?
Yes.
Yeah. Who did you have winning last year between Henry and Ahmad Ashkenani?
I tell you what, man, it was very, very close. But Henry was, wow.
Yeah.
He was out of this world.
Yeah.
I really, from where I see it, I really see a lot of guys in that 212 division can actually be in the, I know they separate the divisions, but I think these guys can go neck to neck for the overall presentation with the bigger guys. I feel that way. If you're really looking at body parts, you're looking at shape, you're looking at presentation, listen, I got a spanking from Muhammad Makawe.
170 pounds on a good day, right?
I never forgot that. It wounded me for life.
And later on, Lee Labrada gave you some very tough competition. You had a good 50, 60 pounds on Lee, right?
Exactly. So it wasn't all about all the beef back then. It was about shape, size. It wasn't, I think, okay, it's great to have different divisions because everybody get a fair chance, but the fair chance should always be in the totality of the physique and the presentation. That's the way I feel about it. But it is what it is. I'm glad everybody get a little money in every different category.
So, speaking of a division that's based on shape, proportion, symmetry, presentation, condition, that's the classic physique division. This is, for the first time, the Arnold Classic did add the classic physique for this show, this coming weekend. And we have the current Olympia champion, Breon Ansley, looking fantastic based on some photos and videos I've seen, looking great. And we also have the original, the year before, the first year they had Classic Olympia, Danny Hester coming in. And the guy who was runner-up to him, Arash Rabar, looking fantastic too. I mean, do you follow the Classic division at all? Are you a fan of Classic?
Well, I follow it slightly, not a lot, because it's so new.
Yeah.
So I haven't gotten a grasp as for all of the different players are.
Yeah.
But the winner and the runner-up, the top three, I know a lot about, because these Classic Physique guys are emerging from all over the place now.
Yeah.
I mean, you see them on Facebook. It's like, man, where did this guy come from?
Yeah.
And I mean, they look fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, their physique, their shape, their quality. I mean, everything flows well. It's sort of, I'm sort of putting bodybuilding back in a place of acceptance with the general population.
Yeah.
And I think it's awesome. There's room for everybody now. And I'm glad to see that.
Because back in your era, even you at 250 pounds could pull a vacuum. And, we don't see that in the open division anymore. But these Classic guys, they all pull vacuums.
Beautiful.
Double biceps, front lat spreads, and there's a vacuum. And
Right.
They're bringing back the taper, the small midsections.
So I'm so glad to see that.
Yeah.
The posing, I like the posing. I'm not quite in love with it.
Yeah.
I think when they take away some of the, let's say, like the most muscular front press and those kinds of things, it's sort of, we're not talking physique here.
Right.
We're still talking about classic. We're really talking about classic bodybuilding.
Right. Yeah.
You can call it classic physique if you want to. It's classic bodybuilding.
Right.
And I think they should still be allowed to do, a crab pose or a front press, or, most muscular type. But anyway, powers that be, they create that kind of stuff, so they let them
like
do
you said, it might change, but for now, they don't do a front lat spread, they don't do a rear lat spread, and they don't do a side tricep. So,
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
I wish they would.
if you have a vacuum, what looks better in a vacuum than a lat spread?
Right.
Hey, man, that's my shot. It made me famous.
Well, they do it in their routines, their posing routines, but I'd still like to see those poses in the judging, in the mandatory poses.
Exactly. Maybe it'll change. I don't know. Maybe if I make enough noise, or we make enough noise.
Next time you're having lunch with Jim Mannion,
that's right.
next time you have Jim's ear, just
Yeah.
think about it, Jim. Think about it.
Yeah. Think about it, Jim.
Okay. Let's get to some questions, because I put up a thread and got some great questions from your fans, Lee. So let's get to the first one for you. A guy named DPH says, I had read many of your training articles over the decades. You are known for your stimulate, don't annihilate approach. Can you elaborate on that? I mean, did you ever go to failure or use forced reps? And if so, how often? Also, from reading your various articles, you often did 4 sets per exercise. However, were these all work sets, all-out grind sets, or were some of them warm-up sets? I've often wondered that too, Lee. How often did you train to failure?
Well, I did force reps.
Okay.
Of course, my first 2 sets were not, I didn't use force reps, but my last 2 to 3 sets were force reps, using no more than maybe three force reps and that sort of thing. And I pyramided. I would increase the weight as I would move forward. And as the muscle became warmed up, the first set was generally a warm-up.
Yeah.
Let's say a warm-up. If I'm benching, I would start with 135, 225, 315, then maybe 375 or 405, somewhere around there. I never fell short of doing around 4 to 6 reps. I always stay between 8 to 10 reps.
Okay.
Sometime I was, okay, I'll do 6 reps today. But it was rare that I would max out to do that, because the whole goal was to, stimulate, don't annihilate.
Yeah.
So you don't have to beat a muscle to death in order to get it to respond.
Right.
Your training is 25%. What you put in your mouth is the other 75. So, that's where a lot of athletes sort of fall off the wagon at. And I watch a lot of them real young getting injured, tearing themselves up, and rotator cuff tears and pec tears, bicep tears. So you just got to be smart and listen to your body. Don't try to wreck it. And that's one of the reasons why with the International Association of Fitness Science, we teach training systems, because depending upon how often you train in a body part, that allows you to also get an understanding of how much you can push it with the amount of weight, an amount of force reps and those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Like your first series could be, let's say, Monday we may do, if we're doing the 3 on off 1, Monday we'll do chest and arms, calves, abs, okay?
Yeah.
Then we'll come back around again. Thursday, we'll repeat. Well, if I went real heavy Monday, I want try to go hit 85% of my max on Thursday. I would hold it right around 60 and maybe 55, you know, because you don't want to overstress the muscle. Give it enough time to recover and then feed it. And as a result, and guess what? I have no shoulder, no knee, no hip, no back pains, none of that crazy stuff that athletes end up with at the end of the day, you know? So you just got to be smart. Stimulate, don't annihilate. That's what was meant by that. And I'm living proof that it works.
At a tender age of 58, walking around pain-free.
Yeah,
So just to clarify, Lee, when you say force reps, so you would go to failure on your own and then your training partner would help you get a couple more?
Yes. Okay. That's what I call force reps.
Okay.
Whereby my training partner would help me get at least around 3 in. And they would, you know, let's say if I'm coming out on the bench and I struggle right before I don't bog down. If you got a good training partner, he will not allow you to get bogged down.
Okay.
Your bench, you come down, tap the chest, you explode and follow through. Explode and follow through. Not exploding and bog down and then you have 2 fingers. Come on, and you screaming and spitting and kicking all. And you got 2 fingers. That's ridiculous. A spot should never be that way.
Yeah.
You tap your chest and then he bring you all the way through. That's the force rep.
Okay.
It's safe and it won't ruin your joints. That's the right way to do it.
And we've all seen, you say 2 fingers. I see guys doing a full-on barbell row while the other guy's benching. So he's, you know.
Exactly.
One guy's benching 200 pounds, the other guy's barbell rowing 205 pounds. So that's how you get a 405-pound bench. Mayor of Bodybuilding wants to know, who do you think will be Mr. Olympia after Phil Heath?
Oh, man. You know, that's a tough one.
Yeah. I don't know either.
You know, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. It all depends on who show up.
Yeah.
You know, I think a good indication of that will be what happens at the Arnold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, because that's the cream of the crop.
Right.
You know, minus Phil Heath. So we'll just have to see what happens. I mean, it's all in the air at this particular time. Phil is dominated for these last 7 years, and probably this 8th year too. There's nobody to challenge him, you know. But I'll tell you what, Bunak is very good. He is the Kai Greens that's missing now, right. And he's got. I don't see any flaws with him. Yeah. He looks very good. Torso just a little bit short. But, you know, then I can say, okay, Phil's shoulder's just a dab narrow, you know, so there's it all depends on what the judge is looking for.
Right.
You can look at a flaw here and there and all over the place with any athlete, really. Yeah. You know, I had mine, you know, everybody got theirs. I don't had his.
Yeah.
But it all depends on what the judge is looking for. And when they stand there neck to neck, okay, let's see what happens here.
Damien 308 wants to know how you feel about synthol, the oil injected into the body parts for instant size.
I see some of the goofiest, cartoonish guys on Facebook and Twitter. It's just totally ridiculous.
Yeah.
Man, listen, train, take your vitamins. You know, there's no shortcuts, and everybody want a shortcut. Nobody want to work hard. I mean, training is hard work. Yeah. And diet and eating the right stuff is even harder, you know, and staying true to the course is even harder. Yeah. Understanding the science. Once you get it down, you can grow. You don't have to use fake things like that in order to grow. It's ridiculous. I think nothing of it.
Okay. Well, the next question is actually related to that. A guy named Heroes Fall says, what did Mr. Haney do to bring up lagging body parts? What type of program or lifting style gave you the best growth?
Well, I tell you what, first you determine what your lagging body part is.
Yeah.
Then you put a program together for that. Joe Weider would call it, the Master Blaster would call it the priority system.
Sure.
Okay, where you give them priority to that particular muscle group. God bless his soul. And so I use a priority principle when it comes to one of my flaws with my biceps.
Yeah.
I needed bigger arms because my deltoids were so large. So what I would do is train my biceps before I train my chest. I still use the push-pull principle or the pull-push, which pull biceps, push chest. But I made sure I got the fresh blood flowing in the biceps before I went on to the chest movement. So that's what I would do. I made sure I would go there. Then I would give an extra 1 or 2 sets to biceps, not to beat them in the earth, because, you know, when you're training back, you're training biceps also. Right. So, and, you know, you want to end up tearing something. You got to be careful of that too. But yes, I would throw an extra set of extra 2 or 3 sets of concentration curls in on biceps, cable curls in on bicep to get the heads up a little bit more. You know, make sure I massage them real good after each set and so forth. So that's what I would do. Okay. It was always a priority.
So I want your opinion on this because, you know, someone said you had one of the best backs. You had the best back of your era. It was tremendously wide, thick. Obviously, you had to go through the biceps to get to your back.
Exactly.
So it seemed ironic that the biceps wouldn't have been, you know, really a strong body part, just because if you built that back, you'd think you would have had to build big biceps at the same time. You know, because I've had, you know, I'm not comparing myself to an 8-time Mr. Olympia, but I've always had a really good chest, and my triceps, they've always been pretty bad. But, you know, what's your theory on that? How is it possible to build such a tremendous torso body part and have the related arm muscle group not follow suit? To me, it boggles my mind.
Well, I tell you what's happening when you're training back, when you watch guys particularly doing a seated cable row or a barbell row, a lot of them have a tendency to use too much bicep. You see, if the goal is to train the back, you got to train the back. So really the pulling should start within the elbows. You should pull the elbows back and flex the back, not using the bicep to pull the weight to you.
Right.
I mean, a bit of it is involved, but the focus should always be is pulling from the elbow and throwing the chest forward, whereby you're arching and pinching the shoulder blades or purposing to pinch the shoulder blades together as you're coming back. And as you get your native in, you want to elongate the lats. Yeah. So the total function and the mindset and the tie-in should be your lats, not your biceps. So I always call guys out. I see them in the gym sometimes. They're doing cable rows. They're sitting straight up. And they have the cable. They'll stretch it, you know, and they're still sitting straight up. And they'll pull it to their chest, and as far as it goes. I say, hey, guys, you're training your bicep. You're not training your back. So there's 2 different animals there. So there should not be a correlation in big biceps connected with back training. Yeah. Biceps should be bicep training. Barbell curl, preacher curl, concentration, so forth.
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, I had a friend / rival back when I lived in Pasadena, California area, and he had the best biceps in the gym, and his back was just horrible. It almost looked like he didn't train it. And you'd see when he trained his back, his biceps would just pump up like crazy.
He was using the biceps.
He was using his biceps, just like you said.
Yeah.
Next question from the same gentleman. How did Lee change up his programming between off-season and competition? I know you changed it up quite a bit, right?
Yeah, that's another biggie that I tried to, and you better learn how to do it early. Early you learn how to change gears in your training systems and training approach, the longer your body will last. If you don't, you're definitely headed down the road for injuries. No doubt about it. I guarantee it. So, depending upon the type of training system you use to prepare for a show, I prefer the 3-on-off-1. It's a great show. I mean, a great program. You got your quality. You got a good time for recovery. That's great. That's great if you're not a fat boy. If you're Porky the Pig, then you may have to do a straight 6.
Porky the Pig. Boy.
The straight 6 is murder. Yeah. It will tear you to pieces, you know, but it will lean you out like crazy. But hey, Can't flex it, don't carry it. So don't pick all of this weight up in the off season. But as soon as that competition is over, I advise doing something like, I call it a 3-day power circuit, whereby you would back off to training each body part once a week for at least around 4 weeks to 4 to 6 weeks, you know, to give the joints enough time to recover. Because after all of my competition, man, I felt like I had went through the ringer. My knees, my hip, my back, my tendons were tight. Everything was crazy, screaming. So I would do, let's say, arms, chest, abs on Monday, off Tuesday, legs on Wednesday, off Thursday, back and shoulders, calves, abs on Friday, off on the weekends.
Yep.
And do a little walking in between, a little stretching, that kind of deal. Sort of almost like a program that a lot of powerlifters use, where each body part is being trained once every 7th day. I didn't want to go in the gym every day. So I would recommend Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, because I've been doing enough everyday crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So you got to give your body enough time to do that. That's why there's a such thing as on season and off season. Yeah. And during that time, you know, you don't want to allow yourself to get fat either, because you know, you got to get that stuff off. And I'd rather be within striking distance. You know, if I'm going to put on size, I want it to hang around anywhere between 15 pounds, 12 to 15 pounds over my competition weight. That way, I don't have to kill myself and eat green beans and tuna fish and walk around miserable.
And I mean, that's considering you competed between 240 and 250 most of the time. That's pretty lean that you were only 12 to 15 pounds over your competition weight.
See, and that was a science of it there, you know, because I always wanted to focus on keeping my waist small, you know, and I wanted to focus on quality, you know, because that was the end thing during that time. The small waist, the vacuum. If you had one of those, if you could be a big guy and look like Frank Zane, then, you know, you got it going on.
Yeah.
A Cowaway, all of that, you know, you got to have that nice taper. And that's what made the difference. You know, look at Robbie. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, his vacuum was out of this world. Double bicep, side chest, all on beautiful vacuum. You know, it's.
Well, let's give you a little credit, Lee. At 250 pounds on stage, what was your waist measurement?
I was 31 and a half. That's pretty nasty.
Wow. I haven't seen that since 8th grade. And
I haven't either.
That's about 100 pounds less muscle. So this is sort of related to that. Same gentleman. What did Lee do back then to avoid injury and stay healthy joint-wise? What do you do today? So what?
You know, my training principles haven't changed. Was that Ron?
Yeah, back in the day, you know, when you were in your 20s, most of your competitive career. So, you know, most guys in their 20s aren't that concerned about avoiding injury or anything. What did you do as a precaution back then?
Well, one of the things I did was paid attention to watching people like Albert Beckles, Robbie, you know, all the guys that I had a chance to be around, because they're World's Gym. You know, it was a smorgasbord for me coming to California at the age of 23 years old and being around the veterans of our sport and being able to pick up on some of the different training tips, you know, and that helped me a great deal. You know, advice from Robbie. Lee only hit maybe 2 or 3 shows a year. That's all you need to do. Yeah. If you do more than that, you're going to wear yourself out and, you know, get burned out and get injured. So I took advice like that. You know, not snapping our elbows or joints, you know, being smart, using pineapple as anti-inflammatory, you know, being, you know, knowing how to pair muscle groups, push, pull instead of push, push. Now, believe you me, when I first went out, I wasn't as smart, but I recall training chest and shoulders in the same workout, push, push. It got so bad that I couldn't hardly lift a 45-pound bar without pain.
Wow.
But I quickly learned, okay, Lee, switch the movement to push, pull. Push shoulders, pull back. Push chest, pull bicep. That's what I teach in my certification program. All the things that I've learned over the years, all the wisdom I've gotten from being around these awesome legends of bodybuilding, it has saved me. It kept me healthy.
Yeah. I want to throw another trivia out there because I don't think people, a lot of the younger guys don't realize what you accomplished back in the day. And you were Mr. Olympia, 24 years old. Am I right?
Right.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
24.
Yeah. And retired when I was 31.
Yeah.
You know, I tease Ronnie sometime, you know. Ronnie won his first one, he was 35.
Yeah.
I tease him, I said, Ronnie, what took you so long, baby?
Yeah, he was a late bloomer, relatively speaking, compared to that.
But man, when he bloomed, didn't he?
Oh, yes, he did. Another good question here from Nelson Muntz. Nelson's our good friend up in Canada. He says, I remember reading a lot of Lee's articles in the past, and the one thing with diet that was consistent in all the articles was his use of plenty of fruit in his diet, both on and off season, which seems to go against the grain, pun intended, of most expertise. Yeah, I would like his thoughts on this if possible. A lot of people nowadays, they won't eat fruit, especially when they're
sugar. It's sugar. You can't eat sugar.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. Anything that God made that's natural, you can eat.
Okay.
The body's going to break it down as a source of energy, just like it would some brown rice. It's just a little bit different, you know, but not to eat fruit is ridiculous. And I've heard a lot of athletes say that sort of thing, you know, these so-called gurus, you know, who've never won a Mr. Olympia or even won a Creek Water USA. Totally ridiculous. You know, it's amazing. Arnold said to me years ago, he said, Lee, don't be goofy with your diet. He said, have a chicken breast, have some lettuce and tomato and mustard on it, make it taste good. You know, and you can make it taste good if you don't get fat as Porky the Pig. You know, if you're fat, then of course you got to stay away from any and everything sweet. But if you're on task, got your body fat low the year round, all you have to do is just your training alone is going to kick that metabolism up anyway.
Yeah.
And so your body's going to look at an apple or a pear or a pineapple and say, hey, there's some more energy. Wow, I can use that and not end up getting fat, or I can use that as a great source of energy so I can feel good and fill out a little bit more.
Yeah. I
never will forget, and a lesson that a lot of guys around me learned doing when I was training for the NPC Nationals. I got hooked to some bad fish 2 weeks prior to the Nationals. And I dropped around 7 pounds in a day and a half. I mean, yeah, I was sick.
Yeah.
Get you diarrhea, crapping like crazy.
Yeah.
So just instinctively, not that I was a nutritionist or anything, I said, guess what? I got to feel back out. So what is the perfect digestive enzyme and something that helped me recover with energy? Pineapple. I took in gobs of pineapple. It filled me back up, got my weight back up, and all the guys was holding his like, oh no, he'll never win now. Oh man, he blown it.
Yeah.
I want hands down, you know, and my body feel back out. If I hadn't did that, then guess what? I probably wouldn't have won it because I was too sickly and flat and drawn to present. So people get this stuff all screwed up. Nutrition is very simple. When you own tasks as far as your body fat is concerned, as far as your metabolism doing what it needs to do, and your training is where it needs to be, the body runs like a fine-tuned machine. And any great athlete, any great bodybuilder, legendary, we didn't eat like these guys now. They have to eat this way now because they get 40, 50 pounds over competition weight.
Yeah.
And you can't eat anything that got a natural sweetener in it. Good Lord knew what he's doing. He made an apple.
Yeah, it's funny you talk about getting overweight because I remember talking to Rich Gaspari, and he said the only time in his life he was really overweight was when he was out in California training with you, but you kept calling him Fat Boy, and eventually he got so pissed off about being called Fat Boy, he ended up trimming down, and you know the rest is history, as we say.
Oh man, he was rich to itch after that. He was always after me.
Oh man. My buddy the Goon, here's a question that's a good one for you. If you could pick just one exercise for each body part, what would that be? And I believe you call these foundational movements.
Foundational movements.
So back.
I'd say
one
for
exercise.
number one, your foundation movement is going to be those movements that will help you. That will help you as far as putting on sides and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You always got to have those. They got to be there. You got your secondary movements, which is A-OK, but your foundation movement is always going to be ones like for biceps, it's going to be barbell curls.
Yeah.
For chest, is going to be bench presses, or either it's going to be bench press or dumbbell presses. For legs, it's always going to be squats. For back, it's always going to be barbell rows. You know, some people get into cable row. Pull downs. Pull down is not a basic fundamental movement. So it's got to be like like I said, barbell rows. Then for calf, standing toe raises. For tricep, it's going to be tricep press downs. For shoulders, it's going to be military presses. Let me see here. I don't think we left anything out after that, did we?
That was it.
Yeah, that's got them. Abs always going to be. I prefer seated leg raises. A lot of people do sit-ups. Sit-ups can stress the lower back. You know, I would prefer to do seated leg raises because those are, you know, you're a little bit more controlled and you can isolate a lot better. So that was my pet peeve when training abs, seated leg raises.
Okay.
Of course, I would do sit-ups from time to time, but those are not a priority over seated leg raises.
Okay. Good question here from a gentleman who calls himself Noise. Your best and worst workout periods while you were Mr. Olympia, do you recall certain years or times when you had your best workouts and others when your workouts, for whatever reasons, weren't going as well?
Man, I've always had great workouts. I never had a worse workout. Never.
Okay.
Never. Now, I would say a workout that probably wasn't in overtraining. I had a problem with that.
Yeah.
And I would say that experience occurred when I was doing doing the 6 day too much. Okay. And that happened to me around probably about 3 different times when I was getting ready for the 1983 Olympia, then the 86 Olympia. And when I say that is I ended up filling out the last minute. Yeah. You know, when I say last minute, you can tell the body was a little bit tired, and the definition wasn't coming in as quick, particularly in my legs, because I was pounding them to death. You know, you always think, well, more is better. Right. You know, I'm going to be extra sharp this year. I'm going to get some extra muscles. I'm going to train extra harder. Right. But on the straight 6, you can't do that. And I found that out later. And I really mastered it for my last Olympia. I think you heard me say that before. The last Olympia, I had cut back a lot on the volume. Yeah. I used the on 3 off 1 the whole time. See, before I used the on 3 off 1, then around 6 weeks before the show, I switched to a straight 6. Should always stayed on the 3 on off 1 because I wasn't a fat boy. So that's why I say now, if you're a fat boy, straight 6. Yeah. If you're not a fat boy, 3 on off 1 is the way to go. Yeah. I believe in your victory speech, which was also your retirement speech in Orlando in '91. You said, I finally learned how to peak. Right? Oh, serious? Yeah. It felt like when I trained for that last Olympia, it was the easiest one of all. Wow. You know, 3 on off 1, cut back on some of the volume. I didn't tear myself up. Yeah. And you were 250, 251? 254. 254. In the best condition. Wow. Best condition, man. Best condition. Wow. Okay. Last question for this edition comes from a gentleman over in the United Kingdom named Mick Shear. Mick Shear. When you did bent over rows, you were actually parallel to the floor. These days, guys see more and more upright, almost doing shrugs to an extent.
what's your views on this and why it's changed? I do your version, by the way. And he says, also want to add that I saw you in a seminar in Cutler's Hall in Sheffield, if you can remember that. So this must
Wow. Oh, man.
How long ago was that?
Long time ago. Wow. Ooh, I had a great time there. You know, I got a lot of awesome fans there in England, Great Britain, some beautiful people there, man. And had a chance to visit Sherwood Forest, Nottingham, Leeds, Yorkshire, all over the place, London. It was fantastic. Fantastic. But I tell you what, when I learned to do bent over barbell rows from watching Robbie Robinson, Franco Colombo, Arnold, the best of the best, always use bent over barbell rows, and the back was always parallel. Parallels are such you can get the whole lat in the movement because you're fully extended, and that helps elongate the lat. And then at the same time, when you're pulling forward, you're able to squeeze the back better. When you're standing straight up, you're working more of the upper back. But why do you want to work half the back? Work the whole back.
Yeah.
You work the whole back by being nice and flat. And I'll say this, even Dorian, you never saw Dorian. I never saw Dorian. Dorian was always flat when he done the roll. But the asses, backs, and the goodness was always flat.
Yeah.
The back was parallel. I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it. That's the way I look at that.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I assume it's just because, you know, personally, if I try it your way, the weight is pretty pathetic. If I stand up more straight, obviously it's easier. I have so much more leverage. Anybody does. It's almost like a shrug, and you can use so much more weight. But I think guys get caught up in. I want to say I can row 315 or 365 or 405. And in the meantime, they don't have the back development that you would expect when you hear that.
Exactly.
You know, what were you? How much weight were you using on Barbell Rows, Lee?
I would go probably no heavier than 185,
Wow.
maybe 200, maybe 225 at the max.
Yeah.
That was pretty much it.
And
even when I did T-bar rolls, it was flat. Flat T-bar roll, because at World's Gym, you know, Joe Gold had a nice little block of wood there. You would put the bar would set right on the block of wood. It wouldn't be one of these type of raised T-bar rolls, which is a mistake, or one of these goofy kind of rolls where you lay your chest on and grab the bar, and you leave the hamstrings and the glutes out. Okay. So that's the other thing. When you're doing them flat, your hams and glute is also involved in the movement. So you're killing two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
Working the entire back, and you're also tapping the glutes and the hamstrings.
So everybody out there listen to that. I hope you were listening.
Hey, you need to get certified through the IFS so you can learn something. And then the other thing that type of training does, it can injure your lower back because it don't put the back in neutral. See, when you're leaning forward with your weight, your lower abdominal rests on your upper thigh. You see? Yeah. Thereby, you have leverage there, and you're not totally putting stress on your lower back, which the back should always be in neutral. Right. Not engaged, your lower back, I'm saying. Right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that has been all the questions. That has been an excellent edition of TotaLee Awesome with 8-time Mr. Olympia Lee Haney, brought to you by International Association of Fitness Sciences, the cutting edge in lifestyle training. And make sure and check out the website, find out about that certification workshop coming right up there in Atlanta. If you're in the area, I'd be getting there if I was in the general area for sure. So thank you so much, Lee, for your expertise, your insights, your Arnold Classic picks. Always entertaining. And that is all. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Ron. Take care, brother. Hey, see you fans later. Take care of yourself.
Thanks for watching, everybody.